The movie starts with the ominous sound of thunder echoing in the background, immediately followed by a man's voice attempting to soothe a woman. The scene then transitions to a visual where the couple is seen sprinting through a dense forest. Both of them are wearing masks, but the woman suddenly removes hers and starts coughing more intensely, blood splattering. She urges the man to flee while he still can. However, she is abruptly struck by several arrows. The man, horrified, panics but soon meets his end as well, with an arrow piercing his eye. The narrative then shifts to a series of news reports discussing a pandemic caused by an unknown zombie virus, leading to widespread global panic. Military drones become a common sight, and chaos ensues, with even the internet servers failing after a while. Amid this pandemonium, a man named David is video chatting with his wife, Sam. It is revealed that Sam is analyzing David's blood as part of her research on the zombie virus. After their call, David wakes up from a restless night and sets several egg timers. 2 years pass by, and David listens to a voice note from Sam advising him to remain isolated, maintain a healthy lifestyle, and regularly check his body for symptoms. It becomes clear that David is also infected with the zombie virus. However, for some reason, it has not impacted him like it has others, possibly because he is an asymptomatic carrier. David's blood might be the key to saving all of humanity, which is why Sam insists that he sends her regular blood samples for her research. David lives in an isolated cabin deep in the woods, surrounded by natural beauty. Every morning, he emerges from his house dressed in a fully protective suit, designed to keep him free from infection. A drone constantly monitors his movements as he quickly disposes of his empty cans into a designated bin and picks up a fresh stock of food delivered by his wife's company, the Eradication program. Returning home, he meticulously sanitizes his suit before restocking his supplies. Sam's voice often echoes in his mind, expressing how hard it is for her to be so far away from him, yet acknowledging that they have no other choice. David resumes his routine and heads to the computer room, eager to connect with Sam via a video call. However, she fails to appear as promised, and instead, he hears her voice warning him never to go outside once it's dark, because the zombies are weakened by sunlight. He notices insects crawling on the glass doors, adding to his unease. Outside, a mysterious figure in a suit watches over him. The distant roar of a zombie draws the figure's attention, prompting it to take swift action. The following day, David follows the same routine, mentioning to himself that he had a strange dream. Despite his hopes, there is still no call from Sam, leaving him feeling increasingly frustrated. Desperate for human contact, he tries using a landline phone, flipping through an old phone book and dialing various numbers, only to find most lines are busy. Finally, he manages to connect to a family's voicemail, which leaves him feeling even more isolated and emotional. With little time to spare, he focuses on stocking up his supplies. The day drags on, and David catches his reflection in the mirror, contemplating his situation. Suddenly, the phone rings. He quickly answers it, only to hear an unfamiliar voice asking who he is. David is stunned into silence by the unexpected call. As he stands there, an egg timer goes off, reminding him of the piece of paper he prepared that says, "Happy Anniversary." He rushes to the computer room to wish Sam a happy anniversary, but the screen remains blank. Frustration mounts as another egg timer rings. David goes to check it, finding the timer on the floor and suspecting something is amiss. To his shock, he sees a vision of Sam striking a pose in front of him. He instinctively follows her, but the timer rings again, abruptly waking him from his dream and leaving him disoriented and anxious about the surreal experience. David notices Sam on his laptop screen, tears streaming down her face. Before he can utter a word, she abruptly ends the video call, leaving him with a deep sense of helplessness. Resigned, he continues with his daily routine. As he restocks his food supply, he is dismayed to find meat in the cans. Being a vegetarian, he angrily shouts at the drone, but realizes there is nothing he can do and begrudgingly throws the cans in the trash. He then went back to the cabin and closed all the curtains. David picks up a manual that states that the zombie virus is bloodborne. Heading to the computer room, he sees his wife again, but she is visibly upset with him for the recent delays in his routine. He asked if she was in trouble, but instead of answering that, she instructed him to fill another bag with his blood, urgently needed at her facility within 48 hours. David complies, but takes a moment to ask if something is bothering her. Sam coldly tells him to adhere strictly to the rules for his protection before cutting off the call. Feeling a gnawing sense of isolation, David decides to call the family again. This time, a man named Todd answers. Introducing himself, David learns from Todd about the brutal reality of the zombie apocalypse. Todd recounts how he barely survived a military attack on civilians and admits he hasn't eaten in days. Todd expresses a desire to visit David, but David explains it is impossible as he has been isolated for 2 years due to an infection. This confuses Todd, who then asks if David has tested himself. Todd informs informs David about the Eradication program's testing kits designed to identify infected individuals. Spurred by this revelation, David ventures outside and starts searching for the surroundings using binoculars. He then went to another nearby cabin. Inside, he searches until he finds a home testing kit in the bathroom. Drawing his blood, he places it in the solution to see if he is infected. Suddenly, he hears an ominous noise approaching and remains perfectly still as the assumed zombie walks past the cabin. David cautiously makes his way back to his cabin, moving through a pool to mask his scent. However, he hears footsteps behind him and turns to see an infected man. David started telling the man to stay back. Despite his pleas, the man transforms into a zombie and attacks. David struggles to escape, but the mysterious figure in the suit reappears, killing the zombie with 2 well-placed arrows. David grabs his bag and rushes back to his cabin. He sits and tries to himself down. Then he started chastising himself for making such a reckless decision. The next day, he moves around his house, opening the curtains to see the drone hovering right outside. During another video call with Sam, she acknowledges how difficult this must be for him, but insists that he must continue with the same routine. David obliges, continuing his monotonous and draining existence. Despite his best efforts, Sam informs him that it will take more time to study his blood, increasing his frustration. With not much choice, David kept doing his routine while talking with Sam every day. One day, David begins to hallucinate, seeing Sam in the same room. Struggling to convince himself she isn't real, the timer starts ringing again. The hallucination of Sam taunts him, acting cruel and calling him a coward who needs her permission for every action. In a fit of anger, David tells her to shut up and slams the table. That's when he notices the home test he took earlier, showing blue, indicating he isn't infected yet. David decides to destroy some of the timers in his cabin, using his axe to smash them, liberating himself from the relentless control they symbolize. David retreats inside the house, staring at his reflection in the mirror. A manic laugh escapes him as he dials up Sam. She urgently tells him not to leave the cabin anymore, but David, unfazed, mentions the zombie he saw earlier. Sam frantically asks if he was bitten, but he reassures her that he's safe and clean. Sam reveals that she is close to finding a vaccine for him, but David hints that he knows he isn't infected, causing Sam to panic. She begs him not to leave the cabin again, but David lies and agrees. Determined, David suits up and sneaks out of the cabin, avoiding the drone's surveillance. Venturing deeper into the forest, he comes across some hammocks. Armed with his axe, he cautiously inspects the area, finding a blood-stained cloth covering a body. He uncovers a dead man. As the drone closes in, David hides behind a rock, but he also spots the mysterious figure in a suit nearby. Gathering his courage, David approaches the figure's tent, only to discover it's Sam. Confused, he tells her it's okay to touch him because he's not infected, but Sam reveals she is infected. Regardless, David takes her to his cabin. Inside, David confronts Sam for lying to him. She explains she did it to protect him. Despite her infection, David embraces her out of compassion. Sam confesses to making a dangerous deal with the Eradication program, which resulted in the deaths of everyone infected with the zombie virus. There is no cure, and Sam is paranoid about the Eradication program finding her. She notices David is bleeding and starts to feel a ravenous hunger. David, determined to end the madness, takes Sam's blood and tests it with the home kit. Needing food, David ventures out but finds nothing. He tries to console Sam, but she insists on being away from him. David contacts Todd, informing him that he's not infected, and gives him directions to his location. He continues his hunt for food, but at night, he returns to Sam's tent and plays a recording of their first video chat on her laptop. It reveals that Sam had struck a deal with a mysterious agent from the Eradication program, using David's untainted blood to suppress her zombie instincts. Some of his blood also went to the agent, allowing both David and Sam to live. Watching videos of Sam's daily life, David realizes she is indeed infected. He calls to reassure her he's coming back, but then receives a call from the mystery agent, who declares the deal is off. A drone approaches, releasing a deadly gas that starts choking David. He manages to put on a mask and grab an arrow gun, then flees the tent. Confronted by another drone, he is attacked, gets cut, and falls off a cliff. Barely able to stand, he makes his way back to the cabin, only to find the door open and Sam missing. Tending to his wounds, David notices his laptop's webcam is on and shuts the flap. Suddenly, he hears a noise and follows it, finding a broken egg timer. He picked it up and went to the open door. Tension builds as he hears someone behind him. It's Sam, now a zombie. David tries to stay calm as zombie Sam sniffs him, but the timer rings, triggering her. A wild chase ensues, but David manages to fend her off by opening the curtains and exposing her to light. Desperate to save her, he decides to give her some of his blood to suppress her instincts. He draws his blood while she whimpers, but before he can administer it, the sun is obscured by clouds, and Sam becomes rabid again. She chases David, driven by his scent, and attacks him viciously. David holds her close, and zombie Sam bites him, drinking his blood long enough to regain her senses. Realizing there's no hope, Sam walks into the sunlight and burns to death. David crawls to her, holding her close in her final moments, only to see an army of drones above him. Returning inside, David tries to eat but spits it out as his zombie instincts kick in. He puts his hand into the sunlight, watching it burn, confirming he was never immune to the virus. David feeds on his blood found in Sam's tent, using his remaining humanity to dig a grave for her. Cuddling next to her, the sunlight starts to burn him as the drones close in. Later, Todd arrives at David's cabin and finds it empty. He follows the sound of an egg timer to the computer room, where a video call from David starts. Disguised as a doctor, David tells Todd that David's gone to DC to be with his wife after getting cured. It's revealed that David was saved by the drones, and to survive is now doing to Todd what Sam did to him, taking pure human blood. The movie ends with David informing Todd that he's an asymptomatic carrier of the zombie virus and needs blood samples immediately. And with that, the movie ends. I hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen and don't forget to subscribe for amazing videos. See you in the next one.